Welcome back to chapter 14 of Multibody Dynamics using Altair HyperWorks Motionview MotionSolve. In the penultimate chapter of this course, we will learn regarding the attachments and datasets, which are very important during the construction of a model in the modular approach. First, let's concentrate on the attachments. During the assembly of a model with different subsystems, it is often necessary to link or refer entities in one container to the entities in another container, which may include systems, assemblies, etc. To retain modularity of the container entity so that they can be reused in a different context, it is recommended that you define connections to external entities by declaring them as attachments. To make you all understand better, I will give you some physical analogies that you can relate to. The ports on an electric device can be considered as the best physical analogy for attachments. These ports are local to the device and act as media to connect an external device. For example, an HDMI port on a TV, which allows a DVD player to provide data to the TV to display. Now, for those who have a background in programming, I will also share another analogy that you can relate to. The argument that is passed in a function can be compared to attachments. For example, consider you have defined the following pseudo function, times 2. So this is basically double times input variable, and the result is going to be 2 times input variable. In this case, the attachment can be compared as an analogy to input variable. The pseudo function times 2 that we created can be used as many times as we like by passing different arguments like x is equal to times 2 of 2, y is equal to times 2 of 4, etc. It is also important to note that the argument input variable must be used within the function for the function to work correctly. Similarly, an attachment must be used within the function. Similarly, an attachment must be used within the system created by you for it to function in the right manner. Since attachments is a very important topic and needs to be understood thoroughly before proceeding further, I will demonstrate a quick example in Motionview to help you understand the usefulness of attachments. I will first show you the wrong way of doing it without using attachments, and then I will show you the right approach. Okay, now let me switch back to the graphical user interface. Okay, consider the scenario. You're user 1 and your colleague is user 2. You create a subsystem in your parent system model, and the joint that you'll be defining in your subsystem needs to be used by your colleague, but he wants to specify different entities for that particular joint. So let's see how to do this in the wrong way. So say user 1 has defined a body and he has also defined a point, just 0.0. And then user 1 is going to create a system called as system 0. Say OK. And then user 1 is going to create another body, reference entity, body within system 0. Okay, so let's just call this body A. Okay, and then user 1 also wants to create a joint add constraint joint. So let's call this joint as joint A. Okay, and he wants this joint to be defined between body 1, which is referring to body 0, which is in the global parent system model, and body 2 is the local entity within the system 0, which is body A, and the origin is basically at point 0 in the global parent system model. Okay, so this is the model of user 1 within system 0. Okay, so now what user 1 is going to do is you'll be exporting the system 0. So let's go to the import export tab, click on export. So in this folder called as test, let's create a system called as system 0. That's basically created by user 1. Save, click on quick export. Okay, so now the system 0 has been exported as a model definition file. Now let's refresh the session. So this represents the graphical user interface of user 2. So this user 2 has a body named N. Okay, and he also has point named N. Okay, and now what he wants to do is make use of the system that was created by user 1. Okay, and replace the body 0 and the point 0 that was referenced in the joint by body N and point N that is created by user 2. Okay, so for that, first the user 2 needs to import the system that is created by user 1. So you go to the import export tab, go to the import option, and then click on the system 0 that was created by user 1. Open, and then click on import. Say OK. So now you can expand system 0 and you can expand joints. And when you click on joint A, you can see that body 1 and the origin are unresolved. So now this is the wrong way of doing it. So even though he wants to reference body N and point N, the system that was created by user 1 to help user 2 is of no use. So now let's go through the right way of doing it by making use of attachments. Okay, so file, new session. So now this is the graphical user interface of user 1. So what he's going to do is create body 0 and create a point 0, and then he's also going to create a system called system A. Okay, so right click on this, add, go to system or assembly, click on next. I'll just rename this as system A. Okay, so once this is done, user 1 is going to create a reference entity which is body as body A. Okay, and he's also now going to create attachments. Okay, so click on the system A, go to the attachments tab, and click on add. So once you do this, you can specify the attachment label name. I'll call this attachment body 0. Okay, and select the type to be body. Okay, and I can also change the variable name right now because I won't be able to do it later. So attachment body 0. Okay, and now once I create the attachment, then I need to resolve the attachment. So click on the body and select the body 0 and select the body 0 that was basically specified in the parent system model. Okay, click on OK. Now this user 1 also has to create another attachment for the point that needs to be referred. So I will rename this as attachment point 0. Okay, so the variable name will be changed to attachment point 0. Okay, and the type needs to be changed to point. And then click on OK. So once the attachment is created, you need to go to point and click on point 0, which is referred in the global parent system, which is model. Click on OK. So once this is done, user 1 is also going to create a joint called as joint A. Okay, click on OK after renaming the variable name to, and then now body 1, you're not going to select body 0. Instead, you'll be expanding system A, and under attachments you'll be selecting attachment body 0. Okay, and it turns blue in color, showing that now it is parametrically defined. Next, for body 2, it will be something that will be defined locally. Okay, the body that was created within system A, which is body A. And the origin will be again under system. If you go to attachments, you have attachment point 0. Okay, so now you've created the attachment and also resolved it in the right manner. So now what user 2 wants to do is make use of this particular joint A and attach his body 0 and his point 0 that he's created in his parent model. Okay, so once you do this, what you can do is go ahead and export the system. So I'll go to import export tab, click on export, and then I'll be renaming this as system A. Okay, so save and click on quick export. So now user 1 has created a subsystem called system A, and he is exported it to be used by user 2 by creating attachments. Now let's refresh the session. Okay, so this represents the graphical user interface of user 2. So what he's going to do is first click on model and import the system that was created by user 1, which is system A. So open and import. Click on OK. So now this user 2 is going to create a body called body 0 and a point called point 0. Okay, now if you go ahead and click on joint A, you can see that it is no more not resolved. Instead, it is referred to body 0 and point 0 that is referred in the parent model of user 2. So this is the way how you can make use of attachments, and it will help in the modular building approach and also for the reusability of your model or the entities that are created between two users. Okay, so I hope now it's clear. Let's go back to the presentation. So just to summarize what I have shown in the demo, so system 0 will be the parent system, and we have another system which is system B under system 0, and then system BA is another system under system B. So if an entity in system BA requires to be referenced from system 0, then attachments need to be created between system BA and system B, and also between system B and system 0. Only then you can reference something from system BA in system 0. Okay. So before moving to the next topic, I hope this is clear to everyone, because attachments are really useful and need to be used when you are building complex models. And also, to just recapitulate the process, please remember there are 3 important steps involved in attachments. The first step is that you need to create them, and then they need to be resolved, and then the third step is to use them. Okay, so now let me go back to the graphical user interface to quickly recapitulate these steps on creating the attachments. Okay, so once you go to a particular system, you need to click on the attachments tab and then click on the add option. So this brings up the add attachment dialog box. So here you need to specify the label name for your attachment, and then you're going to specify the variable name, and then select from the drop down list the type of attachment that needs to be specified. Okay, these are the different types of attachments that exist in MotionView, and you can select any of them and then click on OK. So once an attachment is created, the second step is to go ahead and resolve. So you need to go and select the particular body that you want to create as an attachment. Okay, so for example, body 0. Okay, so this is the way how you create attachments in MotionView. And this topic will become more clear when we do the exercise on chapter 14. Let me go back to the presentation. And let's move on to the next topic of this chapter, which is on datasets. So now consider that you're building a suspension system model. You need to define the stiffness and damping values for several spring damper entities in your model. Let's say you need to perform a static ride analysis using different values of stiffness and damping for the various spring damper entities that you've modeled. Can you imagine how difficult it would be to change the value for each and every entity in your model? It would surely be challenging, time consuming, and I'm sure that you'll be bound to make mistakes. So instead, you can create design variables called stiffness and damping ratio and parameterize all the entities using these design variables. So you just have to change the value once, and it automatically gets updated in all the entities using these datasets. So a dataset in MotionView is a group of design variables. It can be of different types. So design variables are basically variables that exist in the design time in MotionView for the purpose of building a model. They no longer exist when a MotionSolve model is created. This can be used to help define other entities in your model and make modeling simpler, easier, and more organized. And datasets also have their application in design of experiments, optimization, and stochastic analysis. So these are the different types of data sets in MotionView, which include real, string, Boolean, integer, and options. So data sets are organized in tables according to the object. So please note that the fields for variable name and object type cannot be changed in the dataset panel. Now let me quickly switch back to the graphical user interface to show how to create these datasets. So there are two ways of creating datasets. You can simply go to this particular icon on your toolbar, right click on it to create a dataset, or you can go to your model, add, go to the general MDL entity and click on dataset. So these are the two ways used to create datasets. Then you need to specify the label name and the variable name and click on OK. So in this dataset panel, if you go to data members, you can go ahead and click on add option and select the required type of data set that you want to enter. For example, real. Okay, you can specify its a variable name and variable name. You can specify its variable name and label name and click on OK. And you can check this. You can go ahead and modify if you want. Okay. And also you can, if you no longer want to use a particular dataset, you can just select this and delete. Okay, so this is the way how you'll be creating datasets in your model. And even this topic will become more clear once we do the demo on this particular chapter. Okay. So now let's move on to the demo on chapter 14.